Hello, and welcome back to another episode of ComfyUI for creative professionals. So far in this series, we have seen basic text to image generation, we've seen image to image generation, and in this episode, we want to talk about one way that you can have more refined control over the output of your image to image workflows. So here I have this image of a Barcelona street. And this workflow is actually quite similar to what we've seen in the last episode for image to image. And I have a prompt here that says a pencil drawing of a medieval village street at night, candle lights on all walls, highly detailed pencil lines, sketch, messy drawings, black and white. So I want to basically turn this image into a black and white photo, black and white pencil sketch. So obviously this is not a complete workflow, so let's go ahead and complete it. This node, we're familiar with it from the previous episode, and for now, we don't have to worry about what it's doing here. Let's just get a latent image so that we can run the workflow and see what we get. There we go. So I got something that adheres to my prompt quite well, but you can see that it has nothing to do with that original image that I was feeding in. Let me just go ahead and make this a bit bigger so we can see. So you can see that these two images are not alike at all. So what's the reason for this? Well, if you remember from the last episode when we talked about image to image, it has to do with this denoise ratio. So what's essentially happening is that our entire canvas is getting filled with noise, and the model tries to find the thing that you're looking for, as indicated by your prompt, from among the noise. And since our denoise ratio is 1, which is basically 100%, all of our original image is getting covered by noise, which means once the model moves towards this prompt, it's not going to find any elements that adhere to the original image. In contrast, if we reduce this to something like 0.5, let's see what we get. There you go. So you see some elements of a pencil sketch. You see that some general kind of overall themes have been maintained, but it's not actually the original image, and it's not really a black and white image. So on the one hand, it's not fully adhering to my input image, and on the other hand, it's not fully adhering to my prompt. It's ignoring this black and white element here. So what can I do? If I want to maintain the structure that's in the image, but I want to be able to change it with my prompt, what are my options? Well, what we're talking about in this episode is something called ControlNet. So to show you how that works, I'm going to add a apply ControlNet node. So just by looking at this node, and again, we talked about this previously, ComfyUI nodes may seem daunting, but if you look at the inputs and the outputs intuitively, you can kind of figure out how they hook up. So in this case, you can see that I have a VAE just like here. Okay, let's go ahead and hook that up. I need an input image. Let's go hook that up. And I have positive and negative prompts going in and positive and negative prompts coming out. So I'm going to add my positive and negative prompts here. And this is what I will actually feed to my K-sampler. So what this node is doing is it's modifying our conditioning. No, that did not connect well. There we go. Something's not right. Is it? I don't know why it doesn't want to get the negative. There we go. So that's hooked up. We'll just set the denoise ratio to 1. So there's one element in this node that is missing, and that is a ControlNet. So ControlNet is essentially a special kind of model that allows you to prompt any kind of text to image model with things that are not just text. So in this example, if I want the model to maintain the structure, I can't easily prompt that using just text. But with ControlNet, I can actually give it the structural outline of this image. And that's what will come out of the positive and negative prompts on this side. So here I'm going to uh, drag away from this ControlNet input on my apply ControlNet node, and I will get a list of available nodes that I can use. So because I'm working backwards from the input, I'm going to first set this set union ControlNet type, and then I have another ControlNet input, and here I'm going to use ControlNet loader. Now, it used to be that there were many different ControlNet models available. And usually, if you need ControlNet models, you just download them to your models ControlNet folder. Here I have one. I will link to the one that I'm using so you can go ahead and download it yourself. But now we have something called ControlNet Union, which is basically all the different types of control nets that are available. And that's why we have this set union ControlNet type. Now, what this will do is there's different ways that ControlNet can apply. So some control nets are specialized in identifying humans posing. So it will kind of maintain the same body shape and body pose as the original image. Other ones focus on depth, and other ones focus on kind of outlines. So there's a few different options here. Usually, for most things that I have used, it's just been depth uh, and outlines. Now, I want to show you guys what ControlNet is actually doing. So I'm going to open the ComfyUI Manager, go to Custom Nodes Manager, and search for ControlNet. And I'm going to install this first one, ComfyUI ControlNet Aux. The latest is fine. And I will restart my ComfyUI. And remember that this is what shows you when the server is restarting. And it's back. And remember that when we add new nodes, we always have to refresh our node definition. So I'm going to hit R. And it's going to update the list of available nodes. There we go. So I'm going to load a node from this pack that we just downloaded. It's called the AIO AUX preprocessor. And the goal of this node is basically just to show you what ControlNet is doing under the hood. So I'm going to hook this up, and I'm going to hook up a preview image node. Okay. Now let's just run this quickly and see what it does. Oops, my mistake. Let's just stop this. Okay. So you can see there's a lot of these preprocessors, and what the preprocessors are, they are the things that kind of extract the key elements from this image and use them to feed into the model to control its output. So here, I'm going to just use this Canny Edge preprocessor, and we're going to run it, and we're going to see what it gives us. Oh, and I'm going to, sorry, I have to pick the same preprocessor here, same ControlNet type. So that's Canny. We're using the Canny preprocessor here. So let's do this. Okay. So you see that there's all kinds of little details and lines from the original image got picked up in this. And it was basically fed into the output. And now if you compare the output to the input, you can see that they resemble each other a lot more than before. And that's the power of ControlNet. It lets you keep that original structure. But now I'm going to use a different prompt. And the purpose of this prompt is to turn this scene into a bit more of a expressionist, like pop art, colorful image. So let's see what we get if we try that. There we go. So it is working, but you might notice that it's not actually really the best result here, partly because we are keeping so many details because this image has so many lines in it and so many edges that is being picked up by ControlNet that it's not really the best result, because it's all of those details force the model to conform to something that may not really be the best result here. So what we can do is we can try something like depth. And I'm going to change this preprocessor to depth as well. Depth anything. And let's see what it is. So you can see that in the preprocessor output, what we get here now is going to be a lot less details and a much more just focusing on the overall structure. So you can see that this map that is being used for conditioning is just measuring kind of the distance of each element to the camera. And so in our output, that's really all that we have to go by. And the image is actually a lot more free to conform to our prompt. But depending on the models you're using and depending on the type of ControlNet you're using, I found that keeping the strength of the ControlNet conditioning very high is generally not a good idea. So I like actually using something closer to like 50, 60%. And I think we're going to get a much better result here. So let's try that. There you go. So that's actually a lot more along the styles that we wanted. It's kept all the key structural elements from the original image, but it's actually a much more pleasant image to look at. And that's kind of the power of ControlNet. We can maintain some elements from our original image, and we can use prompts that are kind of diverging from the original image by a lot. But we have the power of conditioning the output to conform to both. It can conform to the prompt that we give it via text, and it can also conform to various elements of the image that we have from the input. And that's it. That's kind of the power of ControlNet. There are different types of ControlNets. So you can see that among the preprocessors, there's a lot of different preprocessors that you can play around with. But again, they mostly do similar things, like groups of them do similar things. So there's canny edge, and then there's lines. So they have some differences between them. But really, when you're using the ControlNet union, you basically just pick among some of these. So like you can see that the head scribble, TED, that sort of thing. We can choose the head preprocessor here just to see what it does. They all kind of generate a different type of map here, and that kind of determines what your output is conforming. There we go. So you can go play around with these. I will link to the ControlNet model, and this one, I think you can see it's the ComfyUI ControlNet AUX node pack that gives you this preview node. And yeah, you can download them and play around with different types of ControlNets. Some of them are, like I said, OpenPose is good for people. Some of the ones are good for building structures, and some of the ones are good for like general composition of the image, like the depth one that we looked at. Play around with them, and you'll see that you have a lot more power now to generate cool images with ComfyUI. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time.